Hi everyone, this is Michelle Pethley from Shelley's Wreaths and More, and today I am going to put together the May subscription box from Trendy. In the box you will get the wreath frame, you'll get a lemon sign, you'll get 2 rolls of this mesh. It's a thin stripe fabric mesh in yellow and green. And then in addition to that, you'll get 4 ribbons. And these are the ribbons. We have a 2.5 plaid and a 2.5 inch yellow with daisies on it. And it's an embroidered, it looks like it's an embroidered daisy. It's very pretty. Then we have a lemon and lime citrus ribbon, which is 1.5 inches. And we have a yellow and white polka dot ribbon, also 1.5 inches. Now the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut our mesh. And I did want to just quickly tell you that in addition to what comes in the subscription box, you're going to need some pipe cleaners. You're going to need a zip tie. And then just scissors and a mesh cutter, rotary cutter. We're going to use that to cut our mesh. And you may just need this if you're going to use a zip tie. You need wire cutters to cut the end of it. So let's get started right away and put this beautiful summer wreath together. All right, now the first thing I'm going to do is just take off this sticker. I don't want that to be seen. And then also there's a sawtooth attachment right here at the top, so we'll uncover that. That'll help us attach our wreath, our sign to the wreath. All right, let's just cut off the tag here and start cutting our mesh. Sounds like a song, doesn't it? Start cutting our mesh. All right, now we have 18 ties total on this wreath. All right, there's 10 along the bottom. And then there are 8 on the top ring, okay, for a total of 18. Now, I don't like to have a lot of mesh left over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut, let's just do the math here quickly. I'm going to put some 10-inch poofs on the top ring. And then I'll cut all the rest of the mesh, 18 pieces, and they'll probably be 25 inches long. 25 would give us almost the whole use of, well actually no, let's scratch that. Let's do 20 inches after I do the 10-inch poofs. Okay, now to do a 10-inch poof, you're going to just start with your mesh. Let's gather it up, kind of pleat it like this. We're going to attach it to the frame, and I'm just looking for, since we're doing it on the top, I'm looking for a tie that's very close to this bar here, this crossbar, so that I can anchor my mesh here at the crossbar. And to do that, I'm going to need just a few more zip ties. Okay, so let's start this again. I'm just going to pleat this up. All right. And then you'll see here, I'm just going to attach it to this crossbar here with a zip tie. This is just going to anchor the mesh. Now you do not have to do that. I simply do it because I don't want the mesh to come out. Now, has it ever come out on me? No. Is it because of this? I don't know. It's just something that I started doing and I just tend to do. Okay, now I'm going to just run our hand, curl the edges under. I'm going to anchor it in the first one. Remember, we chose this one because it was the closest to the crossbar. All right, now, in order to measure my 10 inches, for the 10-inch poof. Let me get this out of our way real quick. All right, I'm going to put the tie on a line. It measures 23 inches. So I'm going to go to the 13-inch mark here, and this span is 10 inches. So I'm just going to put it into the next tie, twist it, and open up my poof. Now, the reason I like to do poofs on the top, this was a method that was taught to me, or that I pretty much learned from another designer named Jordan, and it makes a lot of sense. With this poof and the addition of the cruffles that we're going to put in, it keeps all of the items that you attach to the wreath, the bow and the sign, it'll keep it above the mesh. It acts kind of as a support system, all right? And that's why I choose to do it. So, and it's really not a very difficult process. I just take, again, line up to the 23, take my mesh out to the 13, and put it right in there, give it a twist, and open it up. Okay. 23 to 13. Now, once you start doing this process, you'll actually kind of get good at just kind of looking at it and figuring out that it's the right amount of mesh. Only because you just want your poofs kind of to be the same height off of the wreath. So just continue around. Do this as quickly as I can. Then I'll cut the mesh. There's 2 more to go. This is a very firm mesh. It's a beautiful mesh, very easy to work with, and definitely screams summer to me anyway. All right, and this is our last one coming up. Stretch the mesh again. Grab it up. I'm going to open up this first one and put it in, and then that completes our circle. There we go. Circle of poofs. Okay, now I'm just going to cut right here. I'm going to give myself a little bit extra mesh, because what I'd like to do is just turn this mesh underneath and attach this end. Can you see it? Attach this end to the middle bar on the wreath frame with another zip tie, and that'll be our anchor for that. There we go. Now I'm just going to use this to cut that, and that's the first stage of our wreath, putting those poofs on. Now let me set that aside and let me start cutting this mesh. Now this mesh is going to just quickly cut, level off this edge. Okay. There we go. And now we're just all set. And I need now 18 at, let's see, at 18 at 30, it's 540 inches. And I have 360 on this roll, and I will need 180 on this roll. So I can cut each one of these at 30 inches for my poofs. I'm sorry, for my cruffles that I'm going to put on each tie. So we need 18 of them. I'm going to double this up, and I'm going to make 9 cuts, because each cut will give me 2. I'm going to make 9 cuts at 30 inches. And pretty much the only way that I line this up, stretch it out to 30 inches, and then just cut right up. Okay, I'm going to do the rest of those and I'll come right back to you. Okay, so I have all my mesh cut, and I did want to show you that this is all the mesh that I had left. So this method pretty much uses up certainly one whole roll of mesh and just leaves you with a very little amount on the last roll. Okay, let me toss that aside and let's get set to attach these. Now we're going to use the Cruffle method on this. The Cruffle method is a pretty common method, and what the Cruffle method does is it helps you to minimize the amount of fraying that your mesh can do. And the reason is that you're actually tucking in the two cut edges. This edge and the other edge down here, both are cut. And that's where, if it's frays, that's where it's most likely going to fray. So what we're going to do is by curling this, let me get something to hold this end of the mesh down so you can see this better. By curling this end of the mesh in on top of itself, we're curling in the edge that is most likely going to fray, and we're therefore minimizing the amount of fray that's possible. Again, every mesh, no matter what you do, will fray if you don't protect the edges that are cut, and also if you overwork your mesh. Sometimes that causes a lot of fraying as well. So what we do, we're just going to curl this first edge. Now we're going to just take and scrunch right up the middle, all right, till we get towards the back part of this other mesh. I got my friend is trying to hold hands with that one. Okay, so we're just going to keep on curling right up the middle. And when we get down to this end, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to curl this end onto itself just simply by kind of rolling the middle, and the two ends will curl in perfectly by themselves. So now what you're left with is a cruffle. Two curls, and then the ruffle that's in between. All right, so now let's put this onto our wreath frame. And we're going to start on the bottom. So just open up your tie on the bottom. Now, this is how I curled it. I'm going to just turn it over. You don't have to turn it over. This is just something that I do. I turn it over. It's going to look very, very much the same as the other way, but because I'm right-handed, it's easier just to turn it into this, turn it over. I'm going to push it down into the V of that tie, give it a twist, and there you have it. Okay, let's do another one quickly. Let's open up this next tie. Okay, now let's make another one. Same method we're making the cruffle. We're going to curl the first side on top of itself. Let's give it a couple turns, just 1, 2. That's pretty good and secure. Now just pinch up the middle. Really all you're doing is accordion pleating this mesh by just pulling it along. Okay, now we get down to this end. We're simply going to turn it in on itself again, give it a curl, and then just scrunch the rest. Now, this ends up in my left hand. I'm right-handed, so I just turn it over and put it in the very next tie right here. There you go. Give it a twist. And all right, and what this mesh is doing, and especially since we use 30 inches, each cut is 30 inches, it's giving us enough bulk at the point that we're connecting it to the wreath that it's covering up that wreath frame very well. Okay, let's do this again. Now, if you want, you can simply take and curl this, use a clip, clothespin, anything that you have that can clip it, and then start at the next end. Okay, roll it a couple times like we've done before, and now just pleat up the middle. And this mesh is wonderful because it's got that yellow stripe right down the middle, so you know that you're going down the middle. Okay, I'm just turning it over. Something I do, you don't have to do. Let's put it right in the very next tie on our wreath frame. And kind of open them up, bottom up next to each other. And there we go. I'll do one more on camera, and then I'll turn off the camera so that you don't have to, and I'll come right back after I have them all done on the lower wreath frame. We can come back and review. Here is the same method, curling it. Okay, if you want, you can clip it. You can find these clips anywhere. You can find them at the Dollar General, Dollar Store, Dollar Tree. You can find them, of course, on Amazon. And I do believe Hobby Lobby carries them too. Although I will be honest, I'm not quite sure what department they'd be in. They'd probably be in the fabric and notions, I would think, because they're clips. But anyway, okay, end up in my left hand. I'm just going to turn it over. And really, when you put this in, really push it down to the V of that tie. Hold it in there and twist. The tighter you can get it, the perkier it is. Comes off the frame a little bit more and fills in. All right, and it'll be more secure if you can do that as tightly as you can. And when I say tightly into the V, I mean on this bar. Push it in here as tightly as you can and then tie it. Okay, now I'm going to finish the bottom row off camera, and I'll come right back to you and we'll do the top row together. As you can see, I did most of the top row as well as the bottom row, but I do have two left here. And I just wanted to show you that when you're putting them on the top, remember our ties have that, that poof in them, okay? So there's two ways to handle that when you go to put in the cruffle. You can open your ties and put it in, or you can just put it in over the poof without opening your ties. Now that is going to be totally up to you. I will tell you that I open my ties, just turned it over. I just take my left hand and open up the tie and push that right down into the middle of the poof as well as the tie and just retie it. The mesh is not going to spring out. It kind of has a memory to it, okay? So when it's pushed in there and dented and twisted and tied, it will stay in that position for a little while. So if you do choose to open up your ties like I do, you don't have to stress out about that mesh popping out and you know, it'll stay there for the amount of time that you need, okay? So I just turn it over in my hand. I open up this tie. This is our last one. And then I just push it down and retie it. Give it a couple of good twists. And then all I do is just, see the poof is kind of down in the middle of that. I just kind of work the poof up a little bit. Again, it's just going to give our sign and our bow a little bit more stability. And if you like to enhance your wreaths a little bit with flowers or other ornamentation, having that solid base or, you know, more firm base will definitely help you in the long run. Okay, now the next step in doing a wreath is we're going to put in each tie. Generally, we're going to put ribbons in each tie. Now, I choose not to put on the top row. I only put 6 of the 8 ties in, the ribbons in the ties, because the section that I don't put them in, I call the bow zone. I make a large bow, and I just don't want to necessarily waste the ribbon that would be in these ties hidden underneath the bow. So what I do is I cut my ribbon, and I've cut it all for us to save us a little time, but I'm going to show you one last step. I've cut all of the ribbons at 13 inches. All right, that's kind of the go-to. It is a good length so that when it comes out, it's not overly long. It's not going to get all messed up, and it'll just decorate the wreath very nicely, give it a lot of color, but without hanging off too much. Okay, after I cut the 13 inches, this is what you'll have. You'll have ribbons, obviously, that are cut flat. What we want to do is we want to put a decorative edge called a dovetail on them. Simply line up your edges, fold them in half, okay? And you're going to cut from the fold to the point. And that will give you a dovetail. So from the fold, let's not put it into the wreath, to the point, open it up and you'll have a dovetail, okay? You do that on both ends. Just line them up, fold them over, cut from the fold to the top point. There you go. And we now have all of our ribbons dovetailed. Now, I like to pair off my ribbons, 1 2.5 and 1 1.5 in each tie. And let's get this all cleaned up real quick. In this case, I'm going to put the yellow daisy and the citrus ribbon together, pair those two together, and then I'm going to pair the plaid and the white polka dot on the yellow background together. Okay, so let's put these in quickly. Now, I just take one ribbon from each stack. I fold them in half just to kind of get the midpoint of the ribbons, all right? Then I'm going to scrunch up the middle of that ribbon. It's going to give me a bow tie, all right? Now, I just open up the ties again. If you don't want to open your ties, don't worry about it. Just put it in. But I open mine, push it down, give the tie a good couple of twists because we're done putting stuff in it. And then just open your ribbons. Just kind of pull them apart, flare them out. Okay? And there you can see the first ribbon. It's all flared out. Okay, so let's put, now we're going to alternate with the next set of ribbons, the citrus and the daisy ribbon. Do the same method. We're going to line them up, fold them in half to get the center, and then just scrunch up the center and put them in the next set of ties. Again, I'm opening mine up. But really, just do what you want and just be consistent. If you open them up once, open them all up. If you choose not to, just don't open them. But just keep it all the same. And listen, there's nothing in wreath making that's wrong. Every design is unique. Every method that you choose to make your own, there's no right or wrong. That's the beauty of it. In fact, there have been times where people have asked me to make wreaths for their double doors. And I'll tell you, it's not easy making a wreath that looks the same exact way. It's not an easy task, at least for me. I struggle with it. Just gathering it up. I'm going to push it down as far as it goes into that tie, give it several twists, and then just spread the ribbons. And I like to, I'll show you on the next ribbon what I call a divot. I'm a golfer, so I tend to use that word a lot. Divots, okay. The next one is our daisy and citrus. Okay, just going to fold it in half and scrunch it. Now this is what I call divots, this area right here. And if you push that divot out, kind of push it up, you'll see that your ribbons kind of curl over. All right, which makes it definitely easier first to spread. And they lay, your ribbons will lay a little bit nicer when they're arched over like that. These are just little tips that I try to give you. So just take them from the divot and push that divot out. And there you go. Okay. Do one more on camera, and then I'll do that off camera to save you some time. You don't need to keep seeing this over and over. Again, just push the divot out. I'm going to open up my tie, push it in, and then just spread your ribbons. And if you start by the divot of each ribbon and curl it out or follow it out with your hand, it'll arch over and lay very nicely for you. Okay, I'm going to finish the bottom row and most of the top row, and I'll come right back to you. Okay, I just have 3 left on the top. And remember, as I said, I only do 6 out of the 8 on the top. So if you are doing, creating your own wreath and you want to put all 8 on, go ahead. That is absolutely fine. Again, there's no rules, nothing right or wrong. It's just what I like to do here because I put a big bow on there and the bow tends to swallow up anything below it. So I just don't want to waste it. And there are times where the tails kind of get all bunched up, and I just try to eliminate that whole problem. Now, when I'm doing the top, I do want to point out that I use the same method, folding it in half and scrunching it up the middle and popping the divots. All of that is the same. I open my ties, which is my choice. But what I tend to do is when I open up the ribbons, I try to keep the ribbons pointing down, not down, but kind of off the side of the, not into the middle. So when I pull them down, I kind of push them more towards the outside, pull them towards the outside, and leave this kind of in the middle part of the wreath, kind of free for the sign or anything else that you want to put in. Again, it just is my way of doing it, and it prevents or it stops adding kind of a chaotic look in the middle. If you have things going every which way, I tend to feel it just feels chaotic to me. So that's why I just kind of make an effort to keep all of the ribbon tails on the top row, pointing more towards the outside of the wreath when I spread them. You know, the side, the center, and then down towards the side. Okay, now you can see how gorgeous this turned out. And I will say that Trendy Tree, the women at Trendy Tree, put together such great subscription boxes. I mean, the colors are always so vibrant or so spot on. It's just a really fun kit to get every week, every month. All right. Now, you can see here, I don't have ribbons in these 2 because, again, I only put 6 on the top. So I'm going to put my bow here. So let's establish quickly how we want to finish up this wreath. We do have a sign that we have to put in. Now, we could put the sign at the top, kind of on an angle, and put the bow down here. Okay, and I think that's what I'll do. I'll make a bow that has tails that come down, and I'll just attach the lemon sign up at the top. So let's prepare our sign quickly. And I forgot to mention to you that there is one more tool that you're going to need. Not necessarily going to need, because there are other ways to do this. But what I do is I have this sawtooth tie here. So I'm going to put one of my pipe cleaners on that. All right. Then I'm going to punch 2 holes. Now this is a jewel punch. It's just a very small hole puncher. Okay. You can find this at Hobby Lobby, Amazon, but it would be in the jewelry section of both Hobby Lobby and Michael's. And then on Amazon, if you're searching, just look for jewelry punch, and that's what you'll find. All right. Now, since I have white pipe cleaners, I'm going to try to punch white areas. And I'm only going to make a punch here. And I'm just going to put 3 attaching points on this. There's one, and you can see how small that hole is. All right. And when you put a pipe cleaner through it, if it's a white pipe cleaner, it almost disappears. All right. I'm just going to twist that off. Okay. And let's try down here in this corner so that we'll attach it in 3 places. 1, 2, and 3. And this also is a white. Well, actually, there's a little white here. Let's do it there. Hopefully we won't see that one at all. Okay. And just pull it out. Now, if you didn't have one of these jewelry punches, you can use a cable mount. Now, cable mounts do not work very well on metal, so you would have to use, if you chose to use a cable mount, you would just need to use some permanent glue. I'll show you really quickly. Okay, you can't use hot glue because hot glue and metal, it'll just pull out. So the glue that I tend to use is, of course, I'd like to find it quickly. Here it is. Gorilla Super Glue. Oops. Okay. So you would use this super glue on the spot. You'd put a cable mount there and let it dry. And then that will hold, then you won't have to, punch holes through the sign. All right. Now, I am going to just take and quickly just make this one a little bit longer to go through the mesh. Okay, so let's put it on. Now, I'm going to flip over this wreath frame, and I'm going to show you that when you put your sign in, you want to make sure that you get one of these bars. All right? You want the pipe cleaner to go around one of these bars. You just don't want it to go through the mesh. You need to secure it to a bar. All right? Now, here's the bow zone. We want the bow zone to be about 4 or 5 o'clock. All right? So, and actually, I'm going to switch that up, and I'm going to put my bow over at 7 to 8 o'clock. All right? Doesn't change much. It's just the bow is going to be on the other side. Okay. And we're just going to push this in. All right. Now let's just feed this pipe cleaner down through. We just want to catch one of those rings. You can go through the mesh. In fact, that's great to go through the mesh, but just make sure when it comes out the other side of the mesh that it does wrap around one of the bars. Okay? It'll give your sign security for sure. I'm going to just turn it over and show you. So you see it's around this bar. And I'm just going to go back around the pipe cleaner. Sorry if my hands are in the way and can't really show you very well, but all I'm doing is going around the pipe cleaner. And then once I get it secured that way, okay, I'm just going to take it and wrap it around the bar. Let's wrap it several times around the bar. Any bar that you can get. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do that with the other two real quick. Same thing, I'm just feeding it through the mesh, finding a bar to wrap it around. One of the, and usually if you go in around where the ties are, you're sure to there we go. Because those ties are on a bar. So if you can find one of those, if you go into your wreath close to one of those ties, you'll be able to find the bar pretty quickly. And then just wrap it around several times to secure it in place. Okay, there we go. Now let's do the third one. The third one I'm going to feed through the mesh and go underneath, actually underneath the mesh, because my bow will go there and cover up the pipe cleaner that you see. You can see the pipe cleaner, but when I put the bow there, it'll be covered by the bow, the ribbons of the bow. So you have nothing to worry about that way. Flip it over. It's a little easier just to do this way. Try to work it around. Okay, so there we go. We've got our sign on. Okay, so I'm going to make a bow here. And all I have to do now is just straighten these out. Okay, and we'll make a bow. Just do this one more time. That was not a very good secure tie there. Okay, there we go. All right, so now the last stage of making this wreath is going to be to make the bow. Okay. All right, we're going to use a bow maker, an easy bow maker. All right, we're going to just use the ribbons that came in the kit. So what you're going to do is, I want longer tails to hang down a little bit off of the wreath, elongate my wreath a bit. So I'm going to go with, let's do 12-inch tails. So 12-inch tail would be 32 to 20 is 12 inches. Let's go just a little bit longer. Okay, 15 inches. Okay, we're going to put it in the, let me start real quick with this as well. I'm going to put a pipe cleaner in right here, but in the two pegs. All right, and then I'm going to build my bow on top of it. Let's go back to a 15-inch tail. We're going to scrunch up that. I'm going to put it in, and we're going to twist. See my left hand twisted? All right, and then we're going to pull this one down. The reason we're twisting is because we need the opposite side of the ribbon to come up and to form the loop. So we're going to make a 7-inch loop, and here's the 7-inch mark. Now we're going to twist in the middle. All right, there's our 12-inch, our 7-inch loop. Do the same over here, 7-inch loop. do another one. Twisting in the middle each time. Don't need to twist the last one because that one you just compress down. Let's spread our bow loops. And I'm going to put this, it's going to be a funky bow, so I'm going to make the tail come up to the top. So I'll cut it a little bit shorter on the top and dovetail. Okay, I'm going to dovetail this one. And there we go. That's our first ribbon. Now we're going to do the next ribbon, the plaid. When I build my bows, I usually start with the thickest ribbon. In this case, it's a 2.5 inch ribbon. Okay, now on this one, we started down here, and we want this tail to be up at the top. So we're going to start up at this top. We're going to put it in, twist it. All right. Keep it about the same length as this, and then we're going to make 2 more loops. Let's make 3 loops of this one. All right. These are just, again, we're just twisting in the middle. Twisting it in the middle. We need 1 more loop on this side. We're not going to twist it because we're done twisting and adding loops. Okay, then we're going to bring that tail down. Kind of the same length as the first one. We'll dovetail this one. There we go. Now, let's just hold the center of the bow and just, while we have the chance, kind of spread out these loops, and have the yellow ones in between these green. Okay, see how the yellow kind of peeks out there? Okay. So now let's use the polka dot. All right, we're going to dovetail this one again. Put it in. We want it about the same length as the other ones. Twist. All right. Now we're going to do 2 loops of these. Twist. Twist. Do our second loop on each side. Twist. There we go. And just compress that last one because we're not making any more loops. So you just compress it. That way the correct side is coming out. Cut it off and dovetail. Okay. And finally our last ribbon. We're just going to make, let's do 3 of these on each side as well. So we're going to come down, twist it, twist in the middle, and you'll see that this one is a little bit shorter than this one, just like this bow or loop is just a little shorter than that one. I'm not a person that sticks to exact numbers. I just kind of do it by sight. Twisting. And then our last loop on both sides. We're going to twist this one. And then twist compress the last one. I need to make it a little bit shorter. And see how they all kind of fill in those little gaps there? And actually, I'm going to move this loop, this tail up to the top. All right, I'm going to pull it off of the top, just so we can kind of fill in that space. All right, so we've got our bow built, and it's kind of fluffed because that's how we've built it. And all the tails are going down. There we go. I have a few tails going up. This is where our zip tie comes in. We're going to go underneath the bow, and we're going to make sure that we go underneath that pipe cleaner or chenille stem. All right, and then just tighten the bow. Okay, and pull it off. Now, before I totally pull it off, I'm going to move that zip tie in between the pegs and then just kind of pull it to the back. Okay, and what this is doing is it's helping me keep that bow stacked without me having to, use my hands. It just makes it a little bit easier. All right, then pull it off, and you'll see that those pegs create like a trench. Just make sure your zip tie is running down that trench, then pull it really tight. All right, so our bow is made, and it's practically fluffed out already, but let's take a little time. We'll put it on the wreath, and then we'll fluff it out again. But all I do to fluff I pull all the tails that are supposed to go down, and then I just move these loops into the kind of the windows that we know we built the bow in. Okay, so the two yellow ones are on the bottom. Then we have the green plaids that go in between. Then we have the two yellow polka dots. They kind of stay in line with the yellow. And then finally the three on top. Okay, give your loops a little life. Poof them up a bit. Okay, let's do the other side. Same process. We're going to just keep the two yellows, and the three greens are going to span them. The three plaids, I should say. Then the two yellow polka dots, the 1.5, and finally the three citruses. Okay, we have three tails up at the top to give it a little bit of character, and then the rest of the tails come down. All right, let's just put it in our wreath. Okay, and I'm going to put it in the bow zone, right down here. This is going to get a little tenser, so I'm going to use this. It's a needle. It's pretty much just a crochet needle. It's plastic, but it has a large eye. Just feed your pipe cleaner through that eye, push it down through the mesh, and when you put your bow in, remember that the pipe cleaner should straddle one of the rails down below. And this little needle is just perfect because it pulls it right through. There we go. And then just have to twist our bow around a bit. And let me just put the other pipe cleaner into the needle. The bow is covering up what I'm doing, but I'm just going to put this pipe cleaner through the needle, the eye of the needle, and push it down next to the one that I put in before. Pull the needle through to the bottom. Now I have both pipe cleaners, and they're both straddling a bar. Now I'll just tighten it around the bar. There we go. There. Now, just pull this how you want it. Take a little extra time to fluff it up again. There we go. Oh, it's. You own that ribbon. I mean, you be the boss of it. Push those, pull those loops where you want to. Don't let them boss you around. Okay. And we have the 3. Here's the other green plaid. And finally, there we go. Now I'm just taking a little extra time to put those ribbons where I want them. And have these come down. And there we go. Here's now I'm probably going to take and redo this bow. I actually have it on the second rim, and I just want it on the first rim because it's a little too far from, and that's okay. But if I put it up on the first bar, watch what it does. I can just pull it tighter, and it's going to pull it closer to that lemon sign. And at first, the spot that I had it at first, it looked like it was kind of falling off the wreath, but this way, now it's a little bit closer to the sign, and the ribbons can overlap the sign, make it all look, there we go. Okay, so that's the wreath, the May subscription box. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I normally embellish my wreaths a little bit more with flowers and some greenery and things. So I didn't do it this time. I kept it just with the things that came in the kit, just the supplies. So you can see what your wreath would look like with just using the supplies. And you can see it's just a gorgeous summery wreath, a lot of sunshine. It's just so bright and cheery. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to turn it just a little sideways so you can see how the ribbons kind of hang down. But that is our tutorial. I really, really appreciate you spending the time with me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to teach you. Have a great day and continue wreathing.